Now, there's been a lot of nonsense around lately about former Australia Post chief Christine Holgate. Media going over the top about a Senate committee report demanding the Prime Minister apologise to her and all the rest of it. Now, this is a report essentially by opposition MPs. It's not independent, so forget it. The same media who are now trying to make Holgate a martyr tended to report the original story back in October, something like this.
For Australia Post CEO Christine Holgate, the clock is ticking.
They got watches.
Not just any watches.
A Cartier watch of about value of $3,000 each.
Gifted to 4 Australia Post executives for securing a deal to deliver banking services at post offices.
I have not used taxpayers' money. We are a commercial organisation.
A commercial organisation with one group of shareholders, taxpayers.
I was appalled. It's disgraceful, and it's not on.
Now, she probably shouldn't have lost her job, but even though Australia Post is a commercial operation, it's owned by taxpayers, and Holgate's indignation that she should be questioned about this sort of profligacy was pretty arrogant. And there's a lesson here, isn't there? If you're spending money that rightly belongs to taxpayers, then you ought to be pretty careful. But it doesn't seem to have filtered through to the ABC, who yesterday refused to reveal that who at the national broadcaster was given a $55,000 bonus.
Senator, it's look, I think the decisions that we make with regard to this aren't taken lightly. It was certainly not for administrative endeavour.
Right,
So,
was it for journalistic endeavour? What was the endeavour that was deemed so worthy?
Senator, I do not wish to have speculation run rife, certainly in the media.
Well, that's why speculation is running, because you won't tell us.
No.
Not really a laughing matter, is it? The ABC loves to pretend it campaigns for the disadvantaged, and it loves to pretend it's interested in transparency and accountability, but it refuses to say whose pocket it shovelled $55,000 of taxpayers' money into. Let's go to Canberra again and catch up with Tasmanian Senator Eric Abetz, who was asking the questions there. Eric, do you think you'll be able to find out who got the loot?
I would like to think that we could. The ABC, bizarrely, is part of the Right to Know coalition. So they expect everybody else to give information to the ABC, but when it comes to the public's right to know what the ABC does with $55,000 of taxpayers' dollars, all of a sudden there's no right to know. And simply asking whether the money was paid for administrative skill, journalistic endeavour or whatever, I would have thought is something that should be answered. The ABC is now hiding and not wanting to answer. I'll be pursuing this further. The taxpayers have a right to know, and as you quite rightly pointed out in your introduction, the sort of treatment that the Australia Post personnel received because of a $3,000 bonus, here we are talking about something which is about 18 times that amount.
Yeah, well, let's break this down, though, because this is a pretty serious issue. We know that people at the ABC are paid very well. We know they have a big middle management. We know some of their television hosts are paid an extraordinary amount of money, one of them to do 15 minutes of TV a week. And we know, of course, through the pandemic, while lots of other people have been worried about their jobs or reduced hours and what, they've been trundling along, working from home on full pay, no threat to their jobs. Yet someone's shovelled $55,000. That's an annual salary. How could you justify that?
Well, that is what I was seeking to achieve, and clearly the ABC does not believe that it owes an explanation to the Australian taxpayer. It clearly does, and yet again it's another example of how out of touch the whole ABC structure is, emanating as it does from Ultimo in Sydney. It's completely out of touch with the aspirations of the average Australian. $55,000 to me is a lot of money, and if somebody is deemed worthy of receiving such an amount, surely the taxpayer is entitled to know the purpose or the reason that that payment was made. Just as much as Australia Post said, look, the $3,000 watches were paid for this particular deal, which was of benefit to Australia Post, well, so should the ABC tell us that this endeavour was worthy of $55,000 worth of bonus. I suspect they're embarrassed, and that is why they don't want to answer. But whatever the reason, we're entitled to know, and I'll be pursuing it.
Yeah, well, good on you, because if it was happening anywhere else, they would be demanding the answers. And now, what about performance from the ABC? We've spent a lot of time looking at the Wuhan lab story. Sharri Markson, who I just interviewed, has been reporting on this for a year. And the ABC, through people, highly paid people like Paul Barry and Norman Swan, have been misleading Australians, telling them that the reporting is wrong, telling them that it's not factual, telling them the Beijing line, effectively, that this must have come from bats and there's no chance of a lab leak. How is that useful and ethical use of public broadcasting finances?
The ABC also said that they were relying on, quote, expert advice. And here we are, 12 months or so down the track, and it looks as though that expert advice was found to be wanting. And this is the problem with the ABC. They never want to seek to give the benefit of the doubt or acknowledge that there might be some other explanation. And here they are now with egg all over their face. Sharri Markson looking as though she was right on the money. But it was similar with the ABC's pursuit of George Pell and Andrew Bolt taking a stand, which I thought was common sense, given all the evidence, that it's hardly likely that you could find him guilty. But the ABC was pile-on after pile-on. Then when the High Court dismisses it 7-0, saying it's likely an innocent man was convicted, they try to tell us it was just some technical ground on which George Pell had his appeal upheld.
But it happens time and again. They got live cattle exports banned. They got the greyhound racing banned. They're now going after Christian Porter with some of the most questionable journalism you could ever imagine. They are relentless. When is your colleague, the Minister for Communications, or when are you as a government actually going to try and get this organisation into shape where it actually shows some accountability for its actions?
I have been trying to do my bit from my perspective, and I share your concerns, and from time to time I have written to the Minister seeking genuine action in this area. The government needs to act. More and more people are now waking up to the ABC, and whilst it does have a useful purpose, its excesses are such that they really do need to be brought to account.
Look, if it happened elsewhere, some of these people wouldn't work again. I'm nearly out of time, but I had to ask you about your Tasmanian senatorial colleague, Jackie Lambie, apparently banned from Qantas planes. What's she been up to? Have you seen any misdemeanours?
Look, I'm not sure what it was, but she claimed that a heavy week of Parliament or whatever led her to behave in a manner that was inappropriate. I don't know the circumstances, but can I simply say that in my time in Canberra, I've had a few very heavy weeks, heavy months, and huge disappointments and other things occurring. And at all times, I trust I've been able to keep myself civil with all the people that assist you, be it Qantas staff or parliamentary staff. And the fact that Jackie's apologised, it was the right thing to do, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place.
It should not have happened. Thanks for joining us, Senator. I appreciate it. Eric Abetz there from Canberra. Yeah, Jackie Lambie, apparently homophobic slurs and everything thrown around. Not good. Banned from the airline for a while.